Hi guys, so today we're going to be looking at Kounta point of sale. Kounta point of sale is designed for retail outlets, but mostly restaurants, cafes and bars. Okay, so first we're going to look at the front end. Now this is the front end. When you log on to Kounta, this is the screen that you'll be presented with. Now there are a number of devices you can use it on. You can use it on Android, iOS and through a browser on a computer. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a Windows machine or a Mac, as long as you're using Chrome, as it is the recommended browser. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my user to log in, and what will happen is it will log me in now. On the left-hand side, I have all my categories, all the different items that I am selling. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got alcoholic beverages, mains, production, salads, coffee, tots, wines. These three options at the bottom, I was just using for test purposes, so I would ignore those. Okay. Now, in the middle here, we have where all of our menu items are displayed, depending on the category that we choose. Okay. On the right-hand side, I have my order. Okay, so I can choose to assign this to a table. So I can click on a table, for example. Or I can choose to create a separate order. So I can click on new order if it's a takeaway or something like that. And then I also have my history tab, which will allow me to view any previous sales I've made. I can also choose to add a customer. So if I click on add here, I can select the customer. As you can see, all the customer's information is here. We can save that. We then have the option to add a note to this order. So I'm not going to do. And then we have the option to send. Now this send, what will happen is if you've got an order that's going to remain open, such as you're in a restaurant, people are going to be ordering for about an hour, we can just add items to the bill and click on send. When we click on send, those items will either be printed in the kitchen or displayed on a display in the kitchen. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is just going to ring up a tab, so I can choose a starter, an antipasto there. We also have modifiers such as this chicken burger here. So if I click on chicken burger, it will then ask me if I want potato chips, extra onions and extra mustard. I'm going to click on potato chips. As you can see, that potato chips has a separate price, so that's $7.55 extra on top. If I click on extra onions, however, as you can see, it is a zero price. Okay. If I'm happy with that order that I've rung up, I can click on save, and I can continue to add the other people's orders. Okay. When I'm happy with the first round of orders, what I can do is click on send. Okay. Now that order has gone through to the kitchen. Okay. When the table calls me back, I can simply go into their order and continue. Okay. So there we go. If the table wants to order any more food, we can just add that stuff on there. And as you can see at the bottom here, it's calculating the total. If I click on the little gear icon here, I have the option to add a service charge, discount, tip or service, open the cash drawer, print a subtotal and delete the sale. Okay, so what I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to click on checkout. Under checkout, I have my fast cash option. So if the person is paying with certain denomination of cash. Now, as you can see, these values aren't correct here. However, once the system learns that there are only, for example, certain denominations, such as a $50 note, a $100 note, and so on, it will start to display these options here. Okay. I then have my different payment types. So as you can see here, I've got swipe. So if they're using a card, I then have EcoCash, which is a local payment method in our country. I also have the option to bill to a room, and I have an option to bill to their account. Okay, so what I'm just going to do is I'm going to pay this to swipe. Okay. I will then get asked if we want to add an adjustment onto this. So for example, we can click on a custom discount. However, I'm just going to say no adjustment. Okay. Do you want to add a tip or service? Now we can do this either by the percentages displayed here, or we can click on custom and add a dollar value. So for example, let's add $10 onto that as a tip, and we can confirm that. Okay. As you can see, the order is now finished. and we can then go on to making our extra orders. Now, this system will allow you to make as many orders as you want at the same time. You can have 50 different orders open if you wanted to. Okay. If I click on these three little lines in the top left-hand corner, I get the option to go to pause, which will log me out. I have the option to sync, which will obviously update any of my menu items if they've been adjusted in the back office. I can go to printer settings, depending on my user rights. I then have preferences. Now, this is very handy, which basically allows the waiter or the person serving the table to adjust the menu to how he wants it. So, for example, if he wants things displayed, he won't be able to adjust at different prices and stuff like that, but if he wants color codes and so on, he can do that from here. Okay. We then have the option also to enable touch depending on the system that you're using. Okay. Just going to go back here. We then have the option for takings. So when I want to do my takings at the end of the day, I also have the option for accounts if I want to view all of my open accounts. I have money in and money out, and that will allow me to put a tip and take the tip out at the end of the day. As well as any floats or anything like that. So let's say, for example, we had to run off to the store to go and buy some extra Coca-Cola or something like that. We could take money out of the cash drawer and we would have to record it here just so that we know where all that money has gone. We then have add-ons. Now, there are a number of add-ons in Kounta, and we would have to set those up in the back of house. However, at the moment, I have kitchen bump screen, so if I want to display in the kitchen and this will be the display, that's the option I will select. I also have wastage, so if I want to record any wastage such as food that wasn't eaten or something like that and the customer didn't pay for it, I can do so there. Okay. And then lastly, at the bottom, I have the option to switch to the back office. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through my takings. As you'll see, it will come up with an option to finalize or complete all your orders. Okay, so what I'm going to say is that all my orders are closed and I'm just going to finalize. Okay, it will then bring up each payment type and it will ask me how much of this value goes into each payment type. So for example, I can say that we counted $100 on cash and then the remaining balance on swipe. Okay, as you can see, there's no difference here. However, if I was to put in that I had another amount, it would say that I'm over by 100. Okay, so what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to zero that. Okay, then at the bottom, I've got finalized takings and open cash drawer. I'm just going to finalize. Okay, it's going to ask me if I can confirm that I'm finalizing. I'm just going to click on finalize. Do you want to withdraw your tips as cash? And I'm just going to say no. Okay. If we look here, what it does is it takes us to the takings history. And if we go through, we can see all of our different takings for different days. Okay. On the right-hand side, it will give us a summary. So of all of our payment methods, if we're over or under on any of them, we've then got 20 payments were made. The total was that value. Sorry, that's for cash. Swipe, there were 6 payments made, 2 tips of $11. The total is that. Number of sales, returns number, so if we refunded any customers, returned items number, production amount, returns amount, amounts discounted, sales amount, sales average, tips. Below that, we've got description, which is the amount, and then we've got 17.3% of our sales, which was our tax, which is 29 cents. Tax-free was 0, tourism levy was 1.64, and our VAT was 22.79. Okay, now we have the option to print this, so if we have a receipt printer connected, we can just click on print. Okay. Next, I'm going to go through to the back office. So it will ask me if I want to leave the POS. Now, as this is a cloud-based system, we can access it from anywhere in the world. So if you think about it, it's like logging into a Facebook account or a Gmail account. All it will require is a username and a password. Okay. When we log into the back office, this is the screen that we'll be presented with. So there's today's summary, and as you can see, it will show the values here. Now, this hasn't been updated yet because I need to sync the device, the point of sale. Okay. However, when the point of sale is active and connected to the internet, it will update every 10 minutes. Okay. Number of sales of today, net amount, tax amount, total amount. Okay. On the right hand side, I've got a sales summary chart, which will show a sales summary in comparison to previous days. Top selling products, sales by category, and top selling staff. If I go across, I've got my site information. Now this is where I can define all of my business parameters such as site name, business number, phone number, email address, type of business, retail, website, takings, reconciliation. Do we want to do it by register, by site, or by staff? What country are we based in? So our country, our street address, our city, state, and our postcode. Okay. Below that, we then have our trading times, which we can set up. So we just select there. We can define all of our trading times, and those will be displayed on the receipt so that the customer can come back at a later stage. What time zone are we using? You can define it there. What do we want shown on the receipt? So by default, site name and business number are displayed. Address, phone number, website, and email. Do we want to print 0 modifiers? Now we'll look at that when we are setting up products. Modifiers are basically products that will only be ordered if you order another product, such as the chicken burger we ordered earlier. It will then ask us if we want chips with that product. Print product notes. Now, if we were to put a note on a product when creating an order for someone, such as no salt, no garlic, and so on, will that print in the kitchen? Okay. Print customer details. Do we want the customer details to be printed on the receipt? Okay. Receipt footer, what do we want it to display on the bottom of the receipt? We then have our options for online ordering. Now, Kounta has a number of add-ons that work with online ordering depending on your location. So we can actually define the parameters for that here. So store description, store tags, so if someone's searching for you. Directions as to how you get there. Now, you can paste in a URL there so that if someone wants to open it on Google Maps and so on, it can be done. Send receipts to customers via email, and then our promotional images. So what images do we want to display on that site when displaying our business? Okay. If we're happy with all the information there, we can just click on save. Okay. I'm just going to cancel that because of the trading times are obviously not valid. Okay. We can then go across to devices. Now this is where we can set up all of our different registers as well as our displays in the kitchen. Please note, a printer is not considered an extra device. Okay. We've then got our add-ons. Now, as I said earlier, this is where we have a whole bunch of add-ons that will allow our business to do certain things, such as do we want to enable accounts, adjustments, bump screen. Now that's the kitchen display. Do we want inventory, tables, option sets, price lists, staff level order control, tipping, wastage. Do we want to integrate with an accounting package such as Xero? Automatic promotion, so when it reaches a certain time, or if a customer buys, for example, 10 items, it will automatically give them a promotion, so maybe a discount or an extra product. Bar tabs, now this is quite a handy feature. What this allows you to do is take someone's card details down, and if, for example, they were to walk out the bar and not pay for their bill, at the time of takings, it would automatically bill their account. Okay. Now you can in there define terms and conditions so that when you're taking the customer's card details down, they do understand the parameters. Okay, and they can sign off on it. We then have a bunch of other add-ons such as Bopple, Bump It. These are all paid for add-ons. These are loyalty add-ons. We then have the option for courses. So do we want to add courses to our menu? We've then got credit card integration. Now, please bear in mind, if we were to enable something like bar tabs, credit card integration would be required. We then have Deputy, which again is a separate application that will allow you for more advanced time tracking. We have more advanced analytics with Floodlight Analytics, guest tracking. Okay, there's another analytic application. Okay, this is a marketing application that can integrate with Kounta and help promote your business online if you were to set up online ordering or something like that. Nimble Schedules, also an online booking system, so if someone wants to book a table or something like that, they can do so through here. Permissions override, now that's more for a retail environment where you have your guy sitting at a counter and there's certain functions on the point of sale that he will not be able to do. So if he selects permission override, a manager will then be notified and told come to till 1, for example, and he can then adjust the bill or whatever he needs to do accordingly. Preno is a hotel management system. Now earlier you saw when we went to pay, there was an option to build to a room. So now if we've integrated with Preno, we will be able to build to a room. Okay. Production printing, now this is for very advanced printing. So if you have advanced printing parameters, such as you have 10 different locations that a docket can be printed to, we can set it up under production printing. We then have a QuickBooks integration, so again another accounting integration. Refund reasons, if we want to allow refunds within our business, this is where you would set them up. Sasu, another accounting integration. Sage 1, another accounting integration. Tanda, similar to Deputy, it will allow you for better time scheduling and so on. Okay, and then we have our time and attendance. So this is an inbuilt counter feature, time and attendance. However, it is not as advanced as Deputy or Tanda. And then I have set up a few applications. These are building through the API, and I'm still running them in a test environment at the moment. If we go across to printers, this is where we'll be able to set up all of our printers. So as you can see, I've set up 3 different printers here, and we can define the production printing method. Okay. Products. Now here's where all of our products are displayed. So if, for example, I was to go into anti-pesto plate, I can then define all of the product information, such as a SKU code, product name, barcode, if we're using barcode scanners, a description for the product, any tags, so when you're pulling reports and stuff, you can further report on those tags, sale price, sales tax, variable price prompt. So if I select this item, it will then ask you how many of this item do you want to sell. Okay, making for a quicker interaction with the customer. The cost price of the product and the cost tax. It also has the features for average cost price. Now, if we are using purchasing in the system and we are constantly purchasing through Kounta, it will start to calculate an average cost price. Now, this is determined over 1 month. As with restaurants and retail environments, the prices can fluctuate quite a lot. So comparing it over a month is a lot better than comparing it over a year, as you might be making a very bad margin if it was compared over a year. Make this a product modifier. Now earlier we spoke about product modifiers and how you will only be able to sell that product if you select another product. And this is where we would determine that. Do we want to print a production docket? So if we want this item printed in the kitchen, for example, when someone places an order, we'd have to turn that on. Variable quantity prompt. Now, sorry, I've just realized variable price prompt. Earlier I had said that would ask you the quantity. What variable price prompt will do is it will ask you what value you want to charge for that item. Variable quantity prompt will ask you how many of that item you want to sell. Okay. We then have our product management. Which sites is it enabled in? Now with Kounta, you can have a number of different sites. So you might be a franchise where you have 10 different branches. So we can choose where this product will be displayed, in which branch. Okay. We then have our categories. Earlier we saw on the POS how we had all of our categories on the left, and this is where you can define the categories here. Okay. Please also note that these categories can be reported on. Okay. We then have reporting groups. Now reporting groups are similar to categories, however we'll only be able to select one reporting group. Okay. So it's just, for example, if we wanted to separate our food from our drinks, we could do so. Okay. We then can go across to variants. Now, under variants, we could have, for example, a Hawaiian pizza, and we could have a large, medium, and small. Now, they will all be set at different prices, as well as have different products going into them in order to make that product. Okay, so we can define all those different breakdowns here. If we go across to accounting, now this tab will only show if we have integrated with an accounts package. So for example, I buy this item, which sales account do you want it to go to? I sell this item, which sales account do you want it to go to? And I stock this item. All right, if we go across to inventory, we can choose if we purchase this product or we make this product. So if I click on made here, we can then add component products, which will already be in our product list. Okay, so we can just build that accordingly. Once we've had a set list of products there, what this will allow us to do is when we sell this item, it will run a production and remove all the raw materials from stock and convert them into the finished product. Okay. We then have option sets. Now, what option sets will allow you to do is if you've got something like a steak and you want to define the different ways in which you can cook the steak and you want that instruction to go to the kitchen. So if you ask someone how they like their steak, do you want it rare, medium rare, or just cooked? We can define those options here. Okay. We also have the option for suppliers. So if I click on suppliers here, we can define the suppliers for each product. Okay. We then have a separate pricing tab. Now this is where we have stuff like automatic promotion. So we might have a happy hour, for example. Underneath the happy hour, we can define when it reaches 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., all the prices may drop by 10%. Okay, and we can further drill down into that and set a specific price for each individual product. Okay. We then have our purchases. Now, what this will allow us to do is raise purchase orders for our business. It's just loading. All right, so what I can do is I can click new order. I can then select the supplier that I want. So for example, I might say Spa. All right, I can then add all the products I want to purchase from them. Okay, and then we can just define the amount of products we want to get. All right, and we can build that list accordingly. Let's just see here. Okay. Okay, we can then review the order. As you can see, we've got the order here. And we can place the order. What we can then do after placing the order is we can email it to our supplier if need be. We can also CC anyone and BCC anyone. I'm just going to skip this for now, and I'm going to go back to orders. Okay, so now when the products arrive and we now want to receipt it, as you can see, it's sitting in a place status. So what we can do is we can open that and we can start receiving our products. Okay, so I'm just going to click on receive there, and I'm going to say Coke. We got charged VAT on this item. What was the unit price? We got charged 60 cents a Coke. All right, which makes it $600. If we want to put any notes in, we can do so. And what was the quantity received? Because we might only receive half of that order, and we can specify that here. Okay, and we can say price is including tax. Price is excluding tax. So let's select that there and apply changes. And what that will do is obviously update our purchase order with the correct prices. So let's say we're getting espresso. So we get charged $1.50 for that product. Is this tax free? Okay, apply changes. Now, as you can see, what will happen now is it will change the status to delivered, and what would have happened is it's now added all of this stock to our system. So now we should have 1,000 Cokes in stock and 50 espressos. Okay, so now I'm just going to go out of orders and back to our back office. So let's just click on the side here. Okay, we've then got our stock count tab. So when we want to do a stock take, we can click on new stock count. If we want to filter the stock count by certain tags, so we might say drinks, for example, we can do so. However, I'm just going to generate a stock sheet. As you can see, it will display all of our products on the left, the average cost price for that product, and the current quantity, so how much the system expects you to have. Now we do have the option to do a blind stock count if we want to, but I'm just going to put in all of the figures here. And what I'm going to do here is show that there's a variance. Okay, let's put one with. Okay, so as you can see, it will display the variance there. Now, if I don't count a field, it will remain as the exact same figure that is there. Okay, once I'm happy with my stock count, I can click on save. Are you sure you want to update your stock quantities to the counted amount? Your stock levels will be immediately adjusted upon saving. Yes. Okay. Now what will happen is we'll show the variance, and now we can choose to view this and print it. Okay, now as you can see, we only counted these two products. That was the cost variance, and this was the counted stock value variance. Okay. Now we can print that out for manager and so on. Okay. Next to that, we have the option to also select wastage from the back. So what we can do is we can click on record wastage. We can then go in and search for our product. So for example, let's say Coke, and we're going to say stock damaged, and we can say that 40 Cokes were damaged. Okay. And we can continue to add stuff onto here. So antipasto plate, stock damaged again. We can say that 10 of them were dropped. Okay. If we're happy with the wastage we put here, we can choose to save it. And that will obviously adjust all of our costs of sales and so on. Okay. Hardware, this just gives you a platform to order new hardware. So if we need new hardware for our business, we can place a new order and Kounta will deliver that to you accordingly. We then have payments, which will allow you to integrate with stuff such as a swipe machine and so on. And they have a number of different partners that they integrate with. Okay, and these are the 3 payment platforms that you'll use in order to use these swipe machines. Okay. If I go down to people on the left hand side here, this will allow me to see all of my users, and if I go in, I can then adjust all of my user. Okay, well, let's just go, sorry. Go to another user so that I can show you all the user permissions. So as you can see, I've got first name, last name, phone number, email address, PIN. So if the user needs a PIN in order to log into the point of sale for security. I've got tags, so if I want to report on the users, which site is this user enabled in, and what are his permissions. Okay. Is a PIN required? Yes. And do you want them to receive billing alerts? No. Okay. I've also got all of my customers, so if our customers have given us those details, we can look at all those customer details here. As you can see here, so if I go under Stuart, I can also see any unpaid transactions if they are here. So as you can see here, we've got all of our bills, and if we go into them, we can see what was on the order and how it was paid for. So as you can see, swipe, there was a $237 swipe, and also a $10 swipe. Okay. If it is outstanding, we'll be able to go into there and send them a summary of what they owe. Okay. We then have our suppliers. Now, as you can see, I have all of my suppliers listed here. Very similar to customers, is I'll be able to go into here and list all of the supplier details so that when I place a purchase order with them, they'll know that the purchase order is meant for themselves. Okay. Further to that, we then have our reports. Now, Kounta gives you a lot of reports. It also has a very advanced reporting feature, which is called Insights here. However, it does come at an extra cost. So the first screen we'll see is the dashboard. Now, this just gives us an overview, and as you can see, it is now updated as to the sales for today. Next to that, we have our sales summary, and that again is just the sales summary. Now, we do have a breakdown, so we can, for example, filter by past 7 days, past months, past year. Click on filter, and that will obviously adjust the values to looking at the past 7 days, for example. We then have sales feed. Now, any sale that's made in the system will be displayed here instantly as it is made. We then have sales by, and now this will allow us to filter by product, by category. So if I go in here, we've got product, category, and user. So you might want to look at what one of your users has Sold in the past 7 days, we can click on users there and filter. So I'm just going to go today and filter. All right, and as you can see, this user has only made one sale today, and that was the amount. We then have hourly sales. Now, as I said, every 10 minutes it will update, and it will record all of your sales within a certain hour, and we can define the date range that we want to look at. Okay. We then have reconciliation, which will allow us to reconcile our takings. So for example, I can look at takings reports from today. Let's go there. So as you can see, that was our taking, counted, recorded, and our variance. We then have payment breakdown. So how was this all paid for? And as you can see, how I inputted on the takings is broken down there. We then have all of our sales for a certain day. So as you can see here are all of our sales. We then have all of our different payments. So for example, these are all the different payment methods, the amounts, the tips, and then the totals. Any tips that were made will be displayed here, and who put those tips in. Okay, so which waiter. We then have money in, money out, and remember how I said this is where we can use this function to input stuff such as our float. Also, if we had to go buy something on the fly and we need to take cash out the cash drawer, it would be recorded here. And then last, we have our adjustments. So if we adjusted their bill, maybe gave them a 50% discount because of a certain reason, it would be displayed here. And then obviously the reason would be explained on the right-hand side here. Next to reconciliation, we have comparison. So this is where we can compare 2 business days against each other. So for example, number of sales, sales amount, and sold items. After that, we have our taxes. So we can see our tax breakdown. So sale type, net amount, tax amount, and total. And we can view this by year, month, past 7 days, yesterday, and today. And we can also filter specific date ranges. We then have an audit. And in our audit group, what we'll be able to see is any returned items made by a certain person. So if we were to refund the customer in any way, that would be listed here. We then have our stock, and now what this is an overview of our current stock on hand. What is the stock value? And then if we go down, we can see all the different stock items. Okay. Wastage, now this will allow us just to view our wastage. What was the most wasted product? What was the quantity, the total cost, and the lost sales because of that? And as you can see, we've got our 2 items we wasted, stock damage, quantity 10 and 40. Which one did we make a bigger loss on? As you can see, it was the antipasto there. We then have our adjustments. Now in here we can view any adjustments that were made. So if I go across to summary, and I'm going to set it to the past year. And as you can see, we've got all of our adjustments here. What was the reason? I've got local discount, members, tourism, tourism levy, custom, and locals discount. And you've obviously got the breakdowns going forward. If we go to purchases, this will show us all of our purchases within the business. So if I click on today, it will show us all of our purchase orders. I'm just wondering why that hasn't displayed there. Okay, this should show us all of our purchase orders, depending on the date that was made and obviously how we define our date here. We then have insights. Now in insights, we'll be able to build stuff such as custom reports. This does, however, come at a big cost. I think it ranges from about $50 up until the highest package, which is $180. Now they do have some default reports that they have built here. So by default, it's going to open up into site overview. And we can adjust the date range here. Okay, it's just loading the data now. Okay, let's look at site performance. We're going to look at the past 100 days and we're going to run that report. Now, as this is an add-on, as you can see, it's taking a bit of time to load, but also these reports are you can click into them and go from there. So if I click, okay, no drills available there. However, some of the reports will allow you to drill down into them and see what they are made up of. Okay. So there we have a comparison. Top selling staff, a comparison to a previous date or time. Top selling registers, so which register do the staff use? That can help you for stuff such as placement of the registers. Maybe they don't use this register because it's not easy to get to or something like that. Then we have our top customers spend, so which customer spends the most at our business, and that will show a list of 5 or 6 customers. Now, as I said, we can build these reports to how we want. So in the event that we want to show 40 customers, we can do so. Okay, now all of this data is exportable to Excel or to PDF or whatever format you want on a computer. Okay. All right, so now that about wraps it up. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments field, or just join the WhatsApp group that will be shown in the description where you can ask me direct questions.